Silver's on the scene. Silver's on the scene. I hope everyone's doing well. It is Friday, August 9th. And I'm standing at the Waverly, Tennessee exit. The Waverly, Tennessee exit right off I-40. I-40, as you can see from the signs, is right there. And that I-40 runs west and east. You go west, you head into Jackson, Tennessee. You go east, you head back to Nashville. Why am I at the Waverly exit off the I-40? Let me tell you why. Bethany Markowski. Bethany Markowski. So I introduced Bethany a few videos ago. Bethany Markowski was 11 years old in 2001. March 4th, 2001, Bethany went missing. Last seen with her dad, Larry Markowski. Bethany was 11. She's been gone for 23 years. Bethany would now be 34 this year. Bethany's mother, Johnny, at the time Johnny Markowski, Bethany's mother, Johnny Carter now, has been searching for her and will not stop searching for her and has been searching for 23 years. So, why am I here? The Waverly exit is where Bethany would be exchanged or handed off, if you will. As you know, with custody, when two people divorce and they split, there becomes custody, and so like every other weekend, the father, or every other weekend the mother will get the child. So in this case, Larry would get Bethany every other weekend. And this exit, the Waverly exit, North 13, also Loretta Lynn Parkway, this exit is where Bethany's aunt, Lori, I believe it is, would bring Bethany from Nashville, from the east side, Nashville. She would get off this exit, and I'm not exactly where. Somewhere here, she would meet Larry Markowski, Bethany's father, and do the exchange. Now, there's a lot of things that are here, and 23 years ago, I don't know how things looked. I stopped right here because this particular spot, you can see old payphones, right? You can see payphones back there. And it's abandoned spot. This spot is directly off. As this truck gets off the freeway, it's directly off the freeway. And my thoughts are, you know, my ex-wife with our daughter, we would do our exchange at a place like this, where you would get off, and you know, you typically go to the nearest place. Like now, if someone was doing that exchange, they would probably go to this Pilot truck stop, meet in the parking lot, hand off the child. And then that would be like a Friday at 5, and then, you know, fast forward Sunday at 5, father or mother would bring the child back. So Johnny had a restraining order against Larry because of the abuse he was doing, and so therefore she was not the one who exchanged Bethany. It was her sister Lori. So they met Larry here, and the first exchange went okay, and he had her for his weekend, but it was the second time that Larry picked Bethany up from this spot. So Bethany's been here at least 3 times. The first pickup and bring back, and then the time that Lori brought Bethany for the last time, and handed off to Larry. And then of course there was no bring back, which is why we are here. Bethany Markowski, missing, gone 23 years. March 4th, 2001. So Larry picked her up, what would be March 2nd. March 2nd, he would have picked her up here. That would have been a Friday. Have her March 3rd, and then on March 4th, he reported her missing. The Sunday, 2 days later, that he was supposed to bring her back here to this location to hand her back off to her aunt. So this video is going to tell the story of Bethany Markowski. Going to bring awareness because she is still missing 23 years later. Never stopped searching. Johnny, her mother, has never stopped searching. We'll talk about and discuss the things that they did over the weekend, the things that Bethany and her father did over the weekend, and then I'll give you my thoughts as to what happened. So I want to stop here. We're on our way across to Memphis, headed west. This is the first location I want to say because this is where it starts. This is where Bethany would be exchanged. We chose this location. It's the first place you get off the freeway. It could be on the other side. It could have been any of these other places. That I'm not 100% sure. But this exit is about an hour or so from Nashville, a little bit more than an hour, as well as it's an hour or so from Jackson. And Bethany's dad lived in Gleason, which is pretty much between there. So there's 3 more spots we will stop, 3 more locations, and discuss how they play into this and mysterious disappearance. People say mysterious disappearance of Bethany, but she was with her father. He is the last one to see her. Where is Bethany? Most of what I'm going to be telling you in this video will come from a podcast. The podcast is called Searching for Ghosts. Credit to that. I'll put it in the link as well. Put the link in the description as well. And one of my subscribers came onto my channel, saw what we were doing with Sebastian Rogers, sent me an email and asked me, hey, can you help out in this case? Take a look at what you see, the area, knowing I was going to be around this area, and we'll go from there, taking what we know, giving our theories. When we get to our theories, it will be, of course, allegedly and in our opinion, my opinion. And then we will cite things that we know that have been published out there, some by law enforcement, some by people. But it starts here on March 2nd, Friday, March 2nd, around 5 p.m., 2001. Friday, March 2nd, 2001. Bethany Markowski, 11 years old, was brought here by her aunt to meet her dad that she was going to be with for the entire weekend. She should have been brought back here on March 4th, that Sunday, but she never made it back. And she is still 23 years later missing. Let's help in any way we can to bring awareness to Bethany and the ultimate goal to find her and bring her home. Stay tuned, more to come. Silver's on the scene. I forgot to mention one thing earlier as I'm here at the Waverly exit. It's very interesting. So 3 weeks ago today, I was at this exit here at this McDonald's. I'll show you. And I'd never been here before. First time. And I did not know about Bethany Markowski. I did not know. Here I am 3 weeks later to the day, and I'm very aware of Bethany Markowski. Gone 23 years. This is the spot, this is the exit where she would be exchanged from her aunt to her father. March 2nd, 2001, they did the exchange here on this exit. Reported missing 2 days later, March 4th. She never made it back. I'll show the exit one more time. So here it is. 3 weeks ago, I was here. I was here 3 weeks ago to the day. This is exit, Waverly exit off the I-40. I find myself here 3 weeks later for a purpose. Asking the question, where is Bethany Markowski? Stay tuned, more to come. Silver's on the scene. I'm here at Natchez Trace State Park, continuing the coverage of Bethany Markowski, missing now since March 4th, 2001. Over 23 years gone. So Natchez Trace State Park is 52,000 acres. That is huge. So much land. It's beautiful. But why am I at this park? Why am I at this park, and what does it mean? So we were just at the Waverly exit, which is 27 miles east of this location. That is where Bethany's dad and Bethany's aunt would do the exchange. And as I said earlier, they had already had one weekend together. This was their second weekend together. Dad picked up Bethany and brought her to Jackson or Gleason, where he lived. However, that wasn't what he did. And we're going to talk about what he did and how it relates to this park as we drive through. So take a ride with us, and we will see not only how beautiful this park is, but how vast it is. And that's the part that leads me to what my theory is. So we're going to drive through the park. We're about 2 miles in from the interstate, so we're going to drive through. I'm going to show you. Silver's 2, just take it slow. And so we're going to be heading right back to the freeway, and as we do, I'm going to tell you more about the story of Bethany and what happened this weekend. So as I said, Bethany,
proceed to the route. Proceed to the route. In about 3.5 miles, take a sharp right turn onto Mapley Road.
Excuse us, we have technical difficulties here. So you can see the park and how vast it is. 52,000 acres. Now, why is this so important? Because let's recount what Larry, Bethany's dad, said happened that weekend. So Bethany had told her mom that she was going to go roller skating with her friend Christina. Yet when Bethany got in the car with Larry, her dad, and they took off from the Waverly exit after being handed off by her aunt, Lori, he drove them straight to Little Rock, Arkansas. Why Little Rock, Arkansas? Because that's where his best friend Harold lived. So he was going to see Harold. So at this point, you have to ask yourself, Bethany's 11 years old. She had plans to go skating. Was she upset? We don't know. But they go to Little Rock, Arkansas, where they spend the night, Friday night. Harold will tell you, listen to the podcast, Searching for Ghosts. Link will be in the description. Harold will tell you that he just felt like Larry was like on Bethany the entire time, like didn't want her out of his sight, felt like maybe she he's afraid maybe she would say something that she wasn't supposed to, so he was just kind of watching her. They stayed all Friday night, and then Saturday come, and they stayed all Saturday. Well, Saturday evening comes, and they're cooking out, and they're having a good time and socializing. Other people were there, not just Harold and his family, friends. And abruptly, Larry just picks up Bethany and says, "Hey, we're going." And Harold's like, "What do you mean? You've been up all night last night. You're tired. You don't need to be driving, especially with Bethany in the car." And he had a van. Larry had at that time an Astro van, 1995 Astro van. So Larry's like, "No, we're leaving." So Harold said, "Okay, well, you call me when you get back there. I want to make sure you're both safe, and that you." I missed a part of this. I'm trying to show you this and tell this story at the same time. So you'll be driving through here, and you'll just see little places where you can go off into the woods. So as I was saying, Larry goes and they leave Arkansas and they start driving back. Well, about 4 hours later, somewhere around 1:30 in the morning, Larry calls Harold and he says, hey, guess what? We've been driving, but we've only made it to Forest City. Well, Forest City, Arkansas, I didn't know until this case, is only about an hour and a half from Little Rock. So he's been gone in 4 hours. It's 1:30 in the morning, but he's saying he's in Forest City. So Harold's like, wow, did you pull over? Did you rest, right? Which makes sense. You're tired. You're going to get a couple hours nap, so you didn't get that far. However, we'll find out later, after Bethany is reported missing, that Larry's cell phone was actually pinging 4 hours away. He had already come back into Tennessee, past Gleason where he lives, all the way over to what is called Kentucky Lake. Lake of the Two Cities or something like that. And so when I hear this, I'm thinking, oh, this is when he did something to Bethany. This is 1:30 Sunday morning. But no, Bethany did make it back home to Larry's home, to her dad's home. And we know this why. 9:30 the next morning, which will be 8 hours from that, she calls her mom, Johnny. They speak, they talk, and looking forward to seeing each other later that day. As well as Bethany meets Jenny, who is her stepsister, which is Larry's daughter also, or half-sister, as well as her friend Christina. Both in that day, so proof of life. Christina being one who says, you know what, she just didn't seem right. Was it Christina? I'm not sure. I need to check on that. I'll put a comment. I get confused if it's Christina or Jenny. I think she met them both that day. But I think it was Christina who said she just seemed off. So then we come to this park. And so doing the investigation, once again going to cell phones. And cell phones back then, 23 years ago, would ping off one tower. Now we ping off like 3 towers, and it gives you a triangulation. So basically it's saying that tower, that tower, and that tower. So you're not outside those towers, you're inside that area. Gives you a more of a pinpoint exact location. Back then, there would just be one tower. So as Larry pinged off the tower 4 hours away from Little Rock, he also pinged on Sunday from a tower nearby or at this state park. 52,000 acres. 52,000 acres. So what was he doing at this state park? As I just said, it's 27 miles. Let's call it a half an hour. Easy drive, half an hour to bring Bethany back at 5 p.m. to her aunt. So if Bethany and him are enjoying this beautiful park, father, daughter, walking through the park, 52,000 acres, plenty of stuff to do. If they're enjoying this park, enjoy it till 4:30, jump in the car, and you have Bethany back to her aunt at 5 p.m. You're not late and everything's okay. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where it goes the wrong way. As we know, 23 years gone, Bethany did not come back to that meeting location. So, the next spot we're going to stop is where Larry encounters an individual around 2:30, and Bethany is not with him. But it's what Larry says to the individual that'll make you go, and why did he say it? And more importantly, what actually happened between Bethany and her dad at this state park. Now, one thing I want to note here, when I started the video earlier, and as we were doing our drive, where this car's coming off and these cars are coming by, this is the 40 freeway. So straight back, we went about 2 miles back to where the actual entrance to the park is, okay? Where the entrance to the park is. But then we, actually the visitor center, if you will, and then we drove back, and that was the video you were seeing us drive back. We came across the freeway, and I wanted Silvers 2 to pull us over here to this area, and here's why. Because you have to ask yourself this question. What did Larry, Bethany's dad, do when they got off the freeway? Did they go way back a couple of miles? And that road keeps going. I don't know how far it goes. Or did they come over to this side? When they got off this exit, when Larry got off this exit, what was the state of Bethany? So we're going to get in the car now. We're going to go not very far at all, just a few miles, I believe, to where Larry encounters an individual who gave testimony, or a statement rather, of meeting him at 2:30, not seeing an 11-year-old child with him, but yet Larry said something about his 11-year-old daughter to this guy. So let's go there now and see what we can come up with. More to come. So I was just confirming with Silvers 2, and I want to get the story straight because I don't want no misinformation here. And as I said, Searching for Ghosts podcast is where we're getting our information from, and coming here on the scene because we're Silvers on the scene to where something has happened. And where is Bethany Markowski? So Christina, who was the person that Bethany believed she was going to go skating with on Friday night, her best friend, she didn't see her until Sunday. I mentioned earlier, we know they went straight to Little Rock, Arkansas. However, on Sunday, after speaking to her mother at 9:30 in the morning, sometime after that, Larry, being a good dad, takes her to see her friend. And it was her friend who said, for her friend Christina, who they gave each other a hug, they talked for a minute or two. Bethany gets back in the car with her dad, and Christina goes on, and it was Christina who said at that point to her mother, I believe, and she has a statement of this, you'll hear her on the podcast, Bethany just seemed off. She wasn't her happy self. Something seemed to be bothering her. I'll hold this to my theory later, but I don't want to jump ahead as to when you'll see that when we finish up catching you up to date and getting through these locations, there's basically two theories, and one follows the path of is she still out there, and the other follows the path of is she still out there but not with us anymore. So that's when we get to those theories, it'll be alleged in my opinion. But we saw this, there was no Jenny is her half-sister, Larry's other daughter, and so, but not Johnny's daughter. And so I thought they had also seen each other on that Sunday, but I was mistaken, I guess, on that. It was just Christina. So speaking to her mom over the phone, as well as Christina, we know that before they came to this park, before his cell phone pinged on this park, Bethany was still alive and well. Let's go to Parker's Crossroads, the next location. More to come. Silver's on the scene, and that was a quick, I'll call it 9 miles, 8.9 miles. It's a 9-mile drive, just a few minutes from Natchez Trace State Park. We are now at Parker's Crossroads. I'll show you this. Parker's Crossroads Battlefield, okay? Visitor Center. So I'm not sure how they named this particular area, Parker's Crossroads, if it's the name of the city, I'm not sure. but I want to show you, we just came off the exit right here, and you can see there's 2 gas stations here, okay? There's a McDonald's and more gas stations over there. Now remember, 23 years ago, and much like when I was at the Waverly exit, I'm not sure which gas station Larry would be getting gas, but I've told you already he was getting gas. He encountered an individual, and when asked by law enforcement, the individual said there was no one with him. What I didn't tell you is what Larry says to the individual. Larry says to the individual as he's getting gas, and they're both at the gas station, could have been here, could have been over there. He says, "So what are you doing?" They were talking about what they were doing and where they'd been, and Larry says this: "Oh, I just came from Waverly, where I dropped off my daughter back to her aunt. I had her for this weekend." I'll say that again and let you think about it. "Oh, I'm just coming back from Waverly exit, where I just dropped off my daughter after having her this weekend." Ladies and gentlemen, this is 2:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. Bethany wasn't supposed to go back until 5. He had just been at the Natchez Trace State Park, which is 9 miles from here, headed towards Waverly, and we know that the park, as we stated earlier, is 27 miles from the Waverly exit. So number one, when he left the park, he did not head to Waverly, which would have been 30 miles one way. He actually came 9 miles west to here, Parker's Crossroads, where he encountered a gentleman who says in a statement he did not have anyone with him, not an 11-year-old, no one. And then of his own words, Larry says, "Oh, I just dropped my daughter off at Waverly. I had her this weekend." 2.5 hours before she was supposed to be back, and she wasn't with him. So at this point, 2:30, we ask, where is Bethany? At this point, March 4th, 2001, 23 years ago, more than 23 years ago, we start asking, where's Bethany? So now we're going to jump in the car. We're going to keep going 40 west. It's going to be somewhere around 30 miles. We're going to hit Jackson, Tennessee. And we're going to go to the old Hickory Mall. I believe that's the name. I'll verify when I get to the old Hickory Mall. And this is going to be where Larry, her dad, reports are missing. 2:30 here at this exit, getting gas. I just dropped my daughter off. Cell phone had pinged off of the Natchez Trace State Park, but Bethany's not with him here at Parker Crossroads. More to come at the old Hickory Mall. Silver's on the scene, and I have arrived at the old Hickory Mall. Last you saw, we were at Parker's Crossroads, where Larry, Bethany's dad, had met a person at the gas station and had said that he had just come from Waverly to drop off his daughter back to her aunt, that he'd had her for the weekend. Yet the person says there was no one with him, which would make his story, well, he had no one with him, plus he said that he had just dropped his daughter off. Now this is at 2:30. So let's take a look at where we're at now. We'll come back to this in just a moment. What you see here is the old Hickory Mall. What you're looking at right there is JCPenney. And JCPenney, as you can see, there is a door right there. JCPenney is where, allegedly, or according to Larry, where Bethany entered the mall. Now, at this point, we're going to back up and run through the whole day, especially Sunday. Look at what we're looking at. Very deserted, empty parking lot, right? You see that? Now, check this out. Very deserted. This is the mall. You can even see almost the age of the mall, right? This is the mall, JCPenney. When I first heard of this, through a subscriber sending me the information in an email, I opened up Google Maps and I looked at a satellite view of this mall. And I see the mall, all the stores, the JCPenney, and immediately what I noticed was right here. You look at it on a Google map and this just stands out. This is what's considered the overflow parking for the mall. So everybody's going to park, of course, as close as they can to the stores to enter the mall. And when it gets crowded, probably especially around Christmas time, overflow. Now, the next thing I noticed when I realized this existed is I noticed this. A cemetery. Right next door to this spillover. And I basically got chills. We're talking about a missing 11-year-old in her dad's possession, if you will, in her dad's care. The last one to see her, and 23 years have gone by. So let's go back. Picks up Bethany on Friday, March 2nd, 5 p.m., Waverly exit where you saw we were. Bethany thinks she's going to skating with her friend Christina, but no, they go straight through, come right by here, and head over to Little Rock, Arkansas, where they stay in Little Rock all Friday night and most of Saturday, almost into Saturday night, roughly leaving around 8:30 or so, 8:39. Harold, Larry's friend, says, look, you shouldn't drive. You've been up all night. He says, no, we're leaving. He says, well, you be careful. You have Bethany with you. Call me when you get back to Gleason, which is just a few miles up from here in Jackson. Well, he did call him 4 hours later, saying he was only an hour and a half away, still in Arkansas. But when they pulled the cell phone pings, guess what? He was actually past Gleason, past Jackson on the other side east, 4 and a half hours away. So that was also a state park. Land Between the Lakes State Park, Land Between the Lakes. But guess what? They did come home Sunday. And when they did, at 9:30 that morning, Sunday morning, now we're March 4th, Bethany places a phone call to her mother. Now, during that call, she says to Mom, Dad knows you have a boyfriend. Larry believed that Johnny, his ex-wife now, Bethany's mother, was dating her former boss. And he believed this strongly. Now, allegedly, Larry was an abuser, didn't want to lose Johnny, but she's gone. And this is his second visitation with their daughter, Bethany. Now, talking about Johnny being gone, you see this overflow parking lot we're in. When Johnny basically vanished, she had to run from Larry based on his abuse. So when she left him, it wasn't like I'm leaving and walk out the door. That he would have never allowed that to happen. She had to disappear. And when she did disappear, the car she was driving that Larry owned, she left it in this parking lot. Now, why do I bring that up? This is the same parking lot Larry was in his minivan when he goes into the JCPenney and says, where's my daughter? So, I want to bring that up. Now let's go back. So they go and they make the phone call Sunday morning to her mom. Then he takes Bethany to Christina's house. The girl she was supposed to skate with on Friday night, now she's seeing her. And Christina says she did not see herself, and states she had a cell phone with her that supposedly Larry, her dad, had bought her. So, here's where it gets crazy. After they leave that house, Christina's house, and Christina says, hey, she's just not acting right. We got a cop or something coming through here. She's just not acting right or something like that. So after they leave that house, okay, I'm trying to figure out what this cop's doing here. After they leave that house, okay, then the next phone call, listen to this carefully, the next phone call is received, or actually I think Jenny called the phone. Jenny, Larry's other daughter, Bethany's half-sister, speaks to Bethany at 12:12 p.m. 12:12 p.m. on Sunday, March 4th. And that's the last time anyone has spoken to Bethany in 23 years. Now, what do we know? After being at the park, Larry goes and is encountered by someone at the gas station. But here's the thing. The phone call at 12:12, where did that cell phone ping? It pinged from Natchez Trace Park. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. 12:12 call to Jenny, Larry's other daughter, with Bethany at that state park. Fast forward 2 hours and 18 minutes later, and guess what? Larry's talking to a stranger at a gas station at Parker's Crossroads, which we know from being there, Silver's on the scene, that's what we do, we go there, is 8.9 miles, 9 miles away. So at 12:12, pinging off the state park, 52,000 acres, beautiful place, Bethany hangs the phone up. And actually Jenny says that the signal was bad, so they got cut off. And it would make sense at the park. 2 hours, 18 minutes later, Larry's at Parker's Crossroads, 9 miles away, getting gas by himself. Statement from witness. Not only was he by himself, but he told me he had just dropped off his daughter to her aunt. But we know he didn't. We know he didn't. Bethany never came back to that spot. So then, this is 2:30. About an hour later, Larry walks in to this JCPenney here at the old Hickory Mall, walks around for a bit, grabs the security guard and says, "Can you help me find my daughter? My daughter is missing." So, you just told someone that your daughter had been taken back. Now you're saying she's missing. He gets security involved. Now here's the thing, folks. Bethany was never seen on any security footage from this mall. Never seen on any security footage. They checked the entire mall. As they're checking, they run into one of Bethany's other friends named Hillary. Hillary approaches Larry. "Hey, where's Bethany? We're looking for her." Hillary helped look, her and her mom. Later, Larry will tell the cops and other people that the reason, or that one of the reasons that Bethany went into the mall is she met Hillary here and they went in the mall together. So, minivan. Had it about 6 days before picking up Bethany. He had it about 6 days. And once the TBI got involved, 9 days after, which will be the 13th of March, 9 days after reporting her missing, they grab his minivan to test it. Larry has removed some seats and thoroughly cleaned it. They find blood spots that Larry says were from Bethany when she cut herself with a thorn. Basically sat on a thorn. But it gets better, folks. As I walk over here to this cemetery, I remember me telling you, I noticed this lot stands out. Cars over there, nothing here. This is where Johnny left her car. This is where Larry's in his van. Right here, ladies and gentlemen, there's a fence. There's a cemetery that I also noticed when I looked at Google Maps. Over this fence, as if someone had tossed it over this fence. I get chills when I say this. They found a shovel. Law enforcement found a shovel just over this fence right here. Here's the mall. We know in this spillover, there's JCPenney's that allegedly, according to Larry, she went in, Bethany. He's parked in this spillover lot, taking a nap, according to him, while Bethany went in alone. This is where Johnny left her car 2 months earlier when she left him. And a shovel's found right here, folks, in this cemetery. Later footage, and I can't remember what store, so I don't want to name a store, but footage of a store nearby of a man purchasing a shovel. According to Johnny, the mannerisms, the jacket matched Larry to a T. However, they couldn't see his face. And Johnny, and it's what I like about Johnny when she recounts her story is she also said, the one thing that made me think that it probably wasn't Larry is how Larry carries his wallet. He always carried it in his back pocket. He always carried it in his front pocket. He always carried it in his front pocket, but the guy purchasing the shovel pulled the wallet from his back pocket. Now here's another thing I want to throw in at this moment. When I mentioned Bethany going in that JCPenney alone. If you remember, Harold said during that whole time they stayed, which was roughly probably, I don't know, they stayed almost 24 hours, 30 hours with Harold. The entire time, Larry did not want Bethany out of his sight. He was like hawking over her, watching her, making sure she was not out of his sight. Then they leave together. Then he's with her and he's with her. Wherever they go see Christina, he's with her. Phone calls, he's with her. But all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, he allows her to get out of his van and walk into JCPenney by herself. Which would mean the first time she was out of his sight since Friday at 5 p.m. She vanishes, she disappears, she's gone. Why did he clean his van? Why was there a shovel here that appeared to have been tossed over from this side of the fence? Why did he let her go in by herself? Why did he tell someone at 2:30, 25 miles from here, Parker's Crossroads, that he had already taken his daughter back home? Why did his phone ping at the Natchez Trace State Park at 12:12 p.m., giving him 2 hours and 18 minutes before he told the person at Parker's Crossroads he had already taken his daughter home? So, this is where it leads me to the theories. Standing here in this in this spillover parking, where both Johnny's car was when she left 2 months prior, where Larry was parked when he took a nap, allegedly, letting Bethany go into the mall by herself. Where the cemetery is, where a shovel was found. Silver's on the scene with everything he's gone and seen on scene. Heard through the podcast, link in the description, Searching for Ghosts. Well done, by the way. Johnny sounds like a sweet lady, as well as her sister Lori. Harold seems like a really good guy too. I'm not so sure about Larry, who did not participate in the podcast. Here we go, 2 theories. First theory. Larry gave Bethany to someone. I mean, he handed her off to someone. That someone could have been his sister. Why do I say this? Because eyewitnesses state about a month later, I've mentioned this before on Keeping the Awareness Live, that this little girl, 11 years old, with an older adult, female, were seen 5 days. Excuse me, were seen by 5 people. One of those people being a waitress who served both of them 3 days in a row. Now at the time, this is the awareness part, no one knew Bethany was missing. But later when shown photos of her, all five people said that was the little girl I saw. So did Larry give his daughter to his sister, to someone else? And if so, where has she been for 23 years? Or, the second theory, was the shovel tossed over here, was it Larry who tossed it from this parking lot? Did Bethany never come to this mall? Did Bethany never leave Natchez Trace Park? Now remember, when Larry left Harold, he went all the way 4 hours to another state park, Land Between the Lakes. But he brought Bethany home. Roughly 6 hours later, not even that, roughly 4 or 5 hours later, 3 hours later, by the time they got back home, and 9:30 she's making a call to her mom, and then they go see Christina. So about 2 or 3 hours later, he has her at another state park. Was it just a state park weekend? We're going to state parks? Or, and allegedly in my opinion, both these theories, allegedly in my opinion, could Larry not do what he wanted to do in the late hours of Saturday night, early Sunday morning at the first state park? But then did he find out about, or he believed about, Johnny having a boyfriend, and it really made him mad? Because I still believe, allegedly in my opinion, that he wanted to get back with Johnny, and the best way to get back to Johnny was to make Bethany disappear. So did he take her to Natchez State Park, and did he do something that no person should do to anyone, especially a dad to their daughter? And allegedly, in my opinion, if he did that, it would explain the blood in the van, it would explain cleaning the van, it would explain the shovel here, it would explain she never went to this mall, it would explain a lot of things. It would explain that it's the biggest pain and hurt he could provide to Johnny for the rest of her life. Allegedly, in my opinion. Allegedly, in my opinion. Now, Bethany did state she was going to go to the mall. I think she told possibly Christina this, or maybe even her mom. I think it was Christina. So the mall was something I believe Bethany wanted to do. Question is, did Bethany ever make it to this mall? Did she ever walk in to that JCPenney? And allegedly, in my opinion, the answer is no. No security footage. Hillary didn't know she was there, had not seen her there. The whole store was checked. So, as much as I would love to believe that Bethany Markowski is still alive and with us somewhere out there enjoying her beautiful life, Larry's inconsistencies and Larry's lies to different people as well as law enforcement tell me otherwise. And that's the part I do not like coming to a conclusion, in my opinion, allegedly, but all roads point to Bethany not being with us anymore. Now, however, was Larry back then, 23 years ago, March 4th, so far advanced in his thinking and looking ahead that he bought a shovel, that he cleaned his van, that he made it appear as though he may have harmed his daughter, and that was a ruse to hand her off to someone, his sister, someone else, to make her vanish, yet still alive? Or did he unalive her? So I hope this all makes sense, how we've come from Waverly to where Bethany Markowski had been 3 times. On the first pickup, on the drop-off back the first weekend, and then on the pickup on the second weekend where she never returned. Spent time in Arkansas, came back here, seen on Sunday around, the early morning hours, 10 or so, after talking to her mom on the phone. Last conversation with her half-sister at 12:12 p.m. And then 2 hours and 18 minutes later, Larry is speaking of her as if she's no longer around. When he said I dropped her off to her mom, did he mean his sister? Is it possible she's still? It's definitely possible. And it's possible that he planned the shovel and he planned the cleaning of the van to make it look like something had happened, even though knowing there would be no proof of that. And it would throw the investigation off, while he had a chance to move Bethany wherever he needed to, as his goal, in my opinion, allegedly, was to keep her from Johnny and hurt Johnny as much as he could. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as I stand in this parking lot, as I stand here, you see it behind me. Let's look at it. As I stand here in this parking lot, I do not believe it was a coincidence that Larry Markowski had his van parked right here in the same lot where Johnny Carter left his car when she left him. I do believe that, allegedly in my opinion, with all my thoughts. That was not a coincidence. That was a sign, that was a symbol saying, you left me when you left this car here, and for the rest of your life, your daughter left you from this same spot, with his story of her going in there. And she vanished and she was gone. So, that's the story of Bethany Markowski. That's where we are today. 23 years ago, Johnny has never stopped looking, never stopped searching. She wants her daughter back. I'm going to end on this. We will follow up more and do more with Bethany as we learn more. Please put some comments in if you know anything. If you've never known about Bethany being missing, look at the photo I'm going to put up. 11 years old, her age progression, what she may look like today. And if you see something, say something. Had those people known, and it was actually, believe it or not, Cleveland, Tennessee. Had the people, 5 people in Cleveland, Tennessee, one who saw her 3 times, known she was missing, maybe Johnny would not be missing her child for 23 years. So we must keep the awareness alive and bring our children home. No child should go missing in the care of their parents. So when it falls on Larry on that, what did you do? And where is Bethany? So, check out the podcast, Searching for Ghosts. You're going to fall in love with Johnny. Thank you to the subscriber who sent me the email. And as I said, we will get into more on Bethany as we learn more and bring her awareness about more. As I also said 3 weeks ago today, I came through Jackson, 3 weeks ago today, I stopped at 2 of the 4 exits. I've stopped at 4 exits today, covering Bethany's disappearance. Two of those four, I stopped at 3 weeks ago, and I had no idea that 23 years ago on March 4th, 2001, Bethany Markowski went missing. But I know now, and because I know, I'm sharing it with everyone. So share this video, tell people, keep our eyes open, because if Bethany is still out there, she needs to come home to her mother, Johnny. And if she's not out there, then we need to do whatever we can to bring her home and get justice for her. Find them, keep the awareness alive, get justice. Where is Bethany Markowski? Did she go in this mall, or did she never come to this mall? Hope everyone has a great weekend, and I hope everyone stays safe. See something, say something, and keep the awareness alive. Thank you. Have a great night. Go up and let's ride by the JCPenney. I don't know what the traffic would be on a Sunday afternoon, March 4, 2001. Yet I still have to ask, why was Larry Markowski parked in the overflow? Did Bethany come through this door at JCPenney? Or was Bethany never here? I understand why Johnny would have parked the car over there, hiding, running from Larry, leaving Larry. And is that the reason Bethany went missing? Yeah, I saw an interview with Larry 2018, 6 years ago. He almost seems believable, but it's been a long time. Even then, 17 years. Yeah, that's good. So, this mall too, you can almost see it's like not got any younger. You can see the age. It's kind of cool in a way. 23 years ago. Keep the awareness alive. Silver's on the scene in Jackson, Tennessee. Where is Bethany Markowski?